Good morning, Diane. How are you today?
Great, Linda. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous, thanks. I'm really excited about today's webinar. It is for those who need to be reminded that they're in the right place. It is going from overwhelmed to understood, and that could mean a lot, but let's wait for a few more people to join. We always have a few stragglers before we get started. I see some familiar names joining. Thank you so much for coming again. Okay, a couple more people have come in. Diane, have the people you invited joined?
Hawaii? Oh, that's interesting. Good job. It's kind of early for you.
I
So I
like
see
it.
some familiar faces in the background. Thank you for joining. Great to see some new faces and some people I've seen for a long time. So thank you. Does my heart good that you're here.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so I think we're going to get started now. We are talking about a very interesting topic today, and it's going from being overwhelmed to understood. Now, that could really span a very wide range of people and examples and situations, correct? So let's talk about what we really mean about this. If you've ever walked out of a meeting thinking, well, that didn't come out the way I meant it to, this webinar is for you. You're not alone. That frustrating gap between what you know and what you're able to say, especially under pressure, isn't a personal failing. It's often a systems challenge. Now, what did I mean by a systems challenge? I think of systems as computers, phones, etc. We're talking about like a brain challenge, right? It's often a systems challenge. For some, it's rooted in neurodivergent wiring, which we will explain. For others, it's navigating a second language in real time. For many, it's both. So, this isn't about intelligence or ambition because you are all very intelligent and very ambitious. That's why you're here. So, thank you for coming. But it's about your brain, your language, and how your environment intersect and how we can work with, not against, that design to help your voice land with clarity, power, and ease. Today's conversation is grounded, practical, and inclusive. Whether you identify as neurodivergent, which we'll explain to you in a second, you're a high functioning introvert, which many people are, maybe you're a multilingual thinker, or simply someone who struggles to feel heard. This is a space for tools, truth, and transformation. I'm Linda Nelson, your host and founder at Be Understood. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I will introduce my co host and friend, Diane. And she is the founder of End Game Awareness, but she is also a neurodivergent executive. I am a speech and clarity coach. I work with brilliant, sensitive professionals, people who lead with insight, but feel like their voice gets lost in high pressure rooms. My clients freeze, they over explain, or they might stay silent, not because they're unsure, but because their nervous systems are overloaded. I've worked with executives, change makers, and new podcast creators to align their communication with their truth. No scripts, just clarity. This isn't about being louder, it's about being you, only with more impact. Now, let me introduce you to Diane and all of her expertise. I'm sure that you will find this a really wonderful experience. Diane, over to you.
Wow, thank you for that intro. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to speak with you. Linda is actually my clarity coach, for those of you who don't know.
Thank
I
you.
am a Fortune 5 executive. I've been living in a neurodivergent body and brain for quite some time, but really undiagnosed for decades. If you looked at the chart of neurodivergence, and not everyone is familiar, so I'm not going to list out all 8 conditions, but there are 8 primary conditions. The ones that are most popular in the media would be ADHD or ADD. It's non-hyperactive counterpart attention deficit disorder. Yes, got it. Acquired neurodivergence, and usually the most common form of that is post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. And then there's a complex version of that called CPTSD. Yeah, got it. In addition, there is ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder. And there's a huge spectrum of different agency to do things on that spectrum as well. All of these have different varieties, degrees, and they affect people differently based on when they are triggered on. The crazy thing that people don't know is that if they are neurodivergent, it is 50 to 90% common, 50 to 90% of those people have a second mental or behavioral health condition, depending on the words you like to use, and or gut issues that actually also impact their focus, energy, and emotional regulation. So that's pretty crazy that you could have mental health conditions, which are considered neurodivergent, usually having those three symptoms. You can have gut issues that also have those same symptoms. And so you don't know what's actually causing the issues every day. So we're going to talk about some really helpful hints today on the preparation side, on the tools and tactics. Let's get going.
Absolutely. You have a motto you've shared with me before. So why don't you tell the group what your motto is? Because I think that fits perfectly into our communication and neurodivergent inclusion. What is your motto?
Well, my motto for myself and Fortune 5 team is bring yourself to work. You should not have to mask yourself to be a high performer. As a matter of fact, your unique gifts and the unique way in which you do think and do bring conclusions about will serve the room.
So if you don't identify as neurodivergent, stay with us because we have so many things to help you communicate if you're an advanced ESL speaker or an introverted speaker. Hang in there. You've got, I'm going to say it humbly, two experts here. I am an expert in speech and communication, and Diane is an expert and fun in talking about neurodiversity and how that affects your entire being. But for today, we're focusing on the communication. So let's talk about how it's often undiagnosed or overlooked, right? This is something that doesn't get talked about enough. Many people who are functioning at very high levels, managing families, leading teams, running businesses, are also quietly overwhelmed, and they don't realize they might fall within the parameters of neurodiversity. The truth is, trauma, stress, and environmental mismatches can all create symptoms that mimic or trigger ADHD. Am I right, Diane?
Oh, absolutely. And as you're saying all these things in the background, just notice in my ADHD brain was playing music for you, and I was playing a violin, talking about all the challenges that occur. I lived
Seriously?
that.
Seriously?
Absolutely. In my brain, I was I
Oh my
was
God.
playing a violin and I decided to not do it visually to not distract you. But this is where my brain goes, and I'm actually well regulated. It's just part of my fun now. So I just do this. What I do find is that there are so many people that even if they are neurotypical, that's the opposite of neurodivergent, I mean, their brain works within normal parameters. There are points where people will become overwhelmed and outstrip their capacity to focus and regulate because there's so much going on. It can happen anywhere, but imagine that you add a public speaking platform to that. One of the things people fear the most, it could actually cause that capacity to shrink significantly. And suddenly you're actually functioning just like a neurodivergent person. It can be because you're tired, you are in an unfamiliar land with a bunch of technical people saying technical things. I live there, by the way. And, I have to slow down and say, oh my goodness, I cannot process this. What do we do? So there are things I can do for myself to drop my anxiety. And there are other things we'll talk about to get back in the flow of the room by reclaiming the room.
So let me be clear. You don't have to be neurodivergent to use the tools we're going to talk about, correct?
100%.
Great. And you mentioned public speaking, but I think you're aware, and I just want to make sure our guests are aware, that public speaking anxiety is one of the most common human fears, ranked higher than worrying about death in some surveys. I find that really hard to believe, but I guess I've found public speaking not to be that difficult, but the people I work with do find it to be difficult. So I can't imagine that death is less worrisome than public speaking, but I see it all the time. Why is that? Well, it's because speaking isn't just cognitive, it's being vulnerable. So if you've ever had your voice crack or your mind go blank on you, which I do all the time, or a moment of deep regret after staying silent, these next tools are for you. So let's shift this whole discussion from fear to strategy. What if I told you that the most important communication upgrade isn't about articulation? It's about regulation. When your nervous system feels safe, your voice rises naturally. When your body is in a panic state, even the best rehearsed sentences fall apart. So, there are three principles that we're going to build on. One is that calm precedes clarity, safety precedes expression, and presence precedes persuasion. So, you need to be calm, safe, and present. Diane, over to you.
Absolutely. When I speak about neurodivergence, my own teams are highly neurodivergent. And let me tell you, over time, using some of these techniques, they have gone from very stressed out and frustrated in their careers to actually moving up the ranks. On average, in the last 5 or 6 years, each of them has gotten at least 2 promotions, which is unheard of at my corporation. So these things make a huge difference in how people are perceived and how effective they can be. It is frustrating for people to not come across the way they want to. How you opened the talk early, Linda, was brilliant. Like, that didn't go the way I wanted it to, or why didn't I speak up? So let's get you into some different practices that are quick to be able to self-regulate. But first, I'd like to bring a little humor to this. If you can see right behind Linda, she's got our Endgame logo, and you can see there's a lion there.
There it is.
So that is the formal line with the crown and the businessy thing about legacy and power and prestige and all the things we want to project in the world as we build things that are important to us. Now, I have some humorous lions who get to show the things when they're not quite going right. So if you wouldn't mind sharing my favorite lions doing their first things. So these lions we probably relate to a lot more
That's
before
great.
going into a presentation, right? You're going from panic and you want to get into something a whole lot more like presence. And then you see the lion that often shows up, regardless of whatever reason. It could even be that you start off in this wonderful centered state and then things go horribly wrong. How can you regain yourself quickly? I'm going to teach you a few grounding tools. The first technique I'd like to use is called a heart-brain sync. It's actually inspired by the HeartMath Institute. These folks do a ton of research on how to regulate the body's nervous system through just simple breathing techniques. So let's try this one together. First off, to get your mind focused out of the crazy thoughts, put your hand on your heart. Immediately, that's going to draw your attention and be comforting. It's supportive, it's protective. It helps it focus. It's a very simple 2 other things to do. We're going to breathe in for 6 counts, pause briefly, and then breathe out for 6 counts. Let's try this together. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, nice and full. Pause. And then breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll do this breath one more time together. And while breathing, bring to mind a moment of gratitude, a person, a place, a feeling. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause. And exhale nice and easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. For those of you who had their eyes closed, bring them open again.
That
How
was
did
me.
that
I
feel?
just did that automatically. Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Is it something that you would suggest people do? Close their eyes? Or I just felt if my eyes were open, I would be distracted. So what's your suggestion? To close
So
your eyes?
the answer is if you know this could be a contentious conversation before you get into the call, before
Okay.
you're on camera, I would close my eyes and do it. If
Okay.
you are, in fact, in the middle of a conversation and you just need to regain, instead of closing your eyes, another good technique is to do something called soft focus, where I'm going to go straight into it. So I'm going to relax my eyes a little bit. And you know how they can get a little blurry if you just relax, soft focus?
Yeah.
Just do that for a moment so that it tunes out a little bit of the background visuals and it can bring you back to that place.
Yeah. You've got me doing that too. So that's great.
Yeah, there
Okay.
you go.
All
And then you
right.
can snap back on again, right? Good. Would you like to try a quick advanced version? It's very fast.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I would only do this before and actually practice it before your calls because it'll help you in the middle of a call do
Okay.
something a little bit differently.
All
So
right.
it's the
Teach me
same
something, Diane.
process. Good. So hand on heart, one more time.
Okay.
This is going to be super easy. Now you're going to activate more energy, so you're more alert. This is all the thing that's adding to it. So the way to do that is keep your feet flat on the ground, shuffle them around a little bit until you feel a little bit of energy, just a little bit. You feel that buzz. We're going to do the same breathing, but when you're breathing, you're going to feel that energy flow up your legs. So very simply,
Should I continue with my feet or can I stop
no,
my feet?
you can stop with the feet if you want. As
Okay.
soon as you start feeling your feet a little bit,
Okay.
just kind of like breathe in. 1, 2, 3. And as you're breathing in, you're going to feel the energy just fill up your legs all the way to your lap. And then when you exhale, you can just feel that there's so much extra energy. Any extra energy will just flow back down your legs and let go of anything that's tension. So as you breathe in again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now your belly is nice and full of this very calm but supportive energy. And then as you get overflow and it spills over, it's going to let go of any worries that you have, any negative thoughts. And you've still got your hand on your heart. And so this is a very simple thing to do. Did you feel a little bit different with the buzz in your legs?
I actually did, Diane. And I could also picture an executive not wanting to do that in the middle of a
Right.
meeting. So it is the prep work that goes into it to calm you before that meeting that may or may not be contentious, or the public speaking, or the spontaneous speech that you're going to have to pull up. So you may do that before you go into a room. That was excellent. I felt the difference. Drop in the chat if you felt a difference as well. I think that was really helpful. And yes, this has to do with communication because how it is going to help you calm yourself so you communicate more effectively and with confidence. Let's continue on. You have another tool for us, I understand.
I do, as a matter of fact. This one works for everyone, not just neurodivergent people, because there is only so much space we have. We call this a cargo hold. There's only so much stuff I can fit in my brain at one time where I'm going to remain focused, alert, centered. Once you start putting too much stuff into your brain, it's too confusing. An open question there, that person over there seems unhappy. I don't know what's going on. Too much stimulation, too much nervousness. You start to leak certain things. Either you don't know when to speak. The idea is to take all the stuff that's bundling up in your brain, shift it down so you have space to pay attention and get back into things. In terms of that ship analogy, imagine an anchor. You don't need hand on the heart, though. This is kind of like a sneaky one. No one sees what you're doing. Imagine that you have an anchor and it's right here below your heart, what you call the solar plexus. This is right below where your lungs are, right kind of in front of your stomach. So imagine you have a small, heavy anchor resting at your center, right there in your solar plexus. Before you speak, pause and drop that anchor a few inches into your belly. So you're nice and calm, you're grounded, you're firmly in your chair, and let your body slow down and your breath deepen. There's more space for you to breathe because you got that anchor out of the way. Your thoughts are going to your belly, so you have more space up here. This creates rhythm and space. Your body and the brain on the same team. I am here, and that intention shows up. People feel and hear that as part of the whole space.
This is fascinating me, Diane. I hope it's fascinating our viewers as well. I just wanted to mention quickly, we will be dropping Diane's QR code to End Game Awareness and the Be Understood QR code. If anything we're saying piques an interest in you and you want to learn more, Diane actually gives a free consultation, as do I. I have an AI consult as well, which is just a quick speaking quiz. They're just for you as value added gifts. We will also have a PDF and a takeaway sheet highlighting the most important things here that we will be able to send you as well. So I just wanted to mention that we will be dropping those QR codes throughout the rest of our speaking so that you can take a quick snapshot. We'd love to see you scheduling calls with us to learn more about what we are talking about. So we're moving from Diane's exercises or her suggestions on how to calm your inner being and to regain some sort of semblance of comfort instead of nervousness. And I'm going to talk to you about shaping the rhythm of a conversation. Now, what do I mean by shaping the rhythm of a conversation? Conversations sometimes just take off in different directions and may be hard to follow if you are a neurodivergent person, if you are someone with ADHD or autism spectrum disorder, or if you are a non-native English speaker who sometimes gets lost because they are translating still in the back of their head, even if you're a very advanced English speaker, you have the right to shape the rhythm of a conversation. So I have four short phrases that you can use with your team or with the people you're talking to so they can direct which way the conversation is going. So here's the first one. They're very easy and they will be on your PDF sheet. Can we please slow down the pace? Can we slow the pace down? Okay. Most people, unless they're really not people, will acknowledge that for you. If they're all about themselves, maybe they won't, but can we slow down this pace? The second one, I need a moment to organize my thoughts. I need a moment to organize my thoughts. That too should be respected by the person you're interacting with. Third, can I reflect back on what I heard? And you hear people doing this all the time. They say, so what I heard you say is, so that actually takes that room from like zooming away from you in conversation. And if you just say, oh, excuse me. So what I heard you say is this, and that, you've just changed the rhythm of the conversation by reflecting back on what you heard. And the last one is, I know I'm a visual learner, so I could say something like, do you mind if I just take a moment to sketch that out? Do you mind if I just take a moment to sketch that out? So if you know you're a visual learner and you need to diagram it just to get clarity in the conversation, that's really helpful. So four things really quickly. Again, can we slow down the pace? I need a moment to organize my thoughts. Can I reflect back what I heard? Or can I sketch that out? Those are four ways that you can slow or change the rhythm of a conversation. So this really is about communication, presentations, being confident, clear, and unmistakably unforgettable. I also want you to know that they're not a sign of weakness. They're really a sign of leadership.
I had
Diana,
to use one of those this morning
did you really?
before this call, as a matter of fact.
Oh my
The
gosh.
conversation was going very sideways, a very technical conversation. Two people came in who were new. There was a lot of contention in the room.
And you were
And
able
so
to sit
phrases
down?
like this are critical to say, hey, can I provide a little history that you might not know on this? And it might help put things into perspective. If people are like, oh, good, stop. Because nobody wants an argument. It's difficult, but to
Or
step in there,
confusion.
yeah,
Or confusion, right, Diane?
right, right. Even if you don't have background, you can say, look, it sounds like X. Let's take a step back. It depends on the conversation, of course, but I saw that the conversation was heading downward, right? And that could be very disturbing for everyone on the call. You can have people shutting down and not able to speak because they see that there's some sort of conflict in the room. So if you're able to do this and interrupt, even by asking a good neutral question, you're serving the room. It's huge. And I believe that, do I have one more thing in there? Oh, reclaiming the room. So you can actually be a hero. Can I bring in my funny lions one more time?
Absolutely. Bring in your funny lions.
So this is how I felt today. Go ahead, Christian. You're worried about coming across as the lion on the upper right, right? You're coming in as the heavy, kind of like, I'm going to stop all this shenanigans. But the truth is, if you come in with a curious question, no blame, you could
Right.
feel like the guy on the left and saying, oh, now I understand. The people who repeat feel great because you're thanking them for explaining things. You get it. And usually a lot of the other people in the room can also understand what's going on. So
Right.
don't worry about being that isolated poor person who's been banished to the moon on the right. 95% of the time, you're going to end up being that hero conqueror on the left. So go ahead and do it.
We are reclaiming the room with language. It's really simple, right? Something I didn't even really think about teaching as much until you and I started working together. Diane, we talk a lot about eye contact because eye contact is so important in communication. It just makes you feel connected. As a speech language pathologist, eye contact is a baby's first sign of communication. Okay, think about that. When a baby looks at a person and their eyes lock, that is a form of communication. So, eye contact is important throughout our life. I love talking about eye contact. Oh my gosh, Christian, thank you for putting her lions in here. But it can feel like a spotlight, right? I mean, it feels like you're making eye contact. Oh my gosh, they're looking back at me. Now what do I do?
Absolutely. So what you said about babies is super important. It is the way that they begin to have positive attachment. Eye contact actually allows people to feel safe without it being like a stare down, which is kind of what's happening right now. We just keep abusing the lion on the left, the poor guy. The idea is to have supportive eye contact and minimal movement to express that, hey, I'm paying attention, a small smile, a gaze that is open and wishing to understand. Those are the types of eye contact that are important. And it's good if you are seeing people with cameras on, which is what I love to do. And I may look for a friendly face if I am nervous about something. So maybe I would look to my friend Linda and look at her photo on the screen to help me just calm. In addition, I will do one other thing because one of the most important friendly faces is, in fact, our own. If nothing else, you can take a moment. Here I am, just barely taking my eyes off the center to look at myself for a moment. It is very effective, although you lose that eye contact for yourself, to provide that for others in the room by looking straight at the camera right there. You'll see that I'm doing that on a regular basis to connect with others so that they know that I am paying attention. So, Linda, you're seeing this directly, and
I
there is something very special and specific about that eye contact coming to you. Now, the nice tricky thing about Zoom and other things is when you look at the camera, you're looking everyone in the eye at the same time versus having to do this in a conference room to scan everyone, right? I find that when I do a live presentation, I have to be very careful. If I move too much like this, I start to lose my focus because I'm moving my body too much. You find out what works for you and your body so that you can maintain that energy, eye contact, intention while not getting yourself seasick by keep shifting focus.
Well, this has been a ton of fun, and I think we are starting to run out of a little bit of time. Let me close with this, and then Diane, you can add anything you'd like to. But if your voice has ever felt like a liability, if you've been told, just speak up, but never shown how in a way that fits your wiring. You don't need to become someone else. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to remember who you are when you speak. What will you try this week? Write it down, anchor it, and begin. Diane, a few moments, final, and then we'll open this up for Q&A.
I want to say thank you to you all. I feel like you get me. As someone who often has to speak different languages that I'm not familiar with in a room, in addition to having overwhelm and neurodivergence, I am aware of what it takes each day to show up effectively and consistently in what we do. And thank you for doing this, and thank you for stretching to have that type of impact on the world. And thank you for joining me.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Diane. And so let's open it up to the floor. Folks, what landed most for you? These are a couple of questions I'd like you to think about. Any questions on grounding, meetings, emotional safety in high stakes spaces? And also take a few minutes to journal your reflections if you're not ready to share, because every voice belongs here, even the quiet ones. Okay. Thank you so much. And we'll just pop your questions in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, I'm seeing some questions, meeting
Okay.
preparation and slide preparation for a neurodivergent audience. I
Okay.
actually have something on this. I can add that as part of the PDF. So
Oh,
I'd be
that would
happy to
be
do that.
wonderful. Any other questions that you can see, Chris, coming in? I just saw one, Chris, pop up. How do you know if you're neurodivergent? Well, okay, so we're not doctors here, okay, but does some of this resonate with you? Then you might want to do some reading on it or have a consult with Diane. While she's not a doctor, she knows so much about this. Go to her QR code, schedule an appointment with her. If you want to get a speech assessment on how you're doing in American English or any other questions, I have a 30-minute free consult that I give, and just use my QR code here. That is Diane's QR code, so take a snapshot of it, please. And that's Be Understood's QR code. Follow us on social media. We have LinkedIn and YouTube. Diane has a LinkedIn as well. Okay. So keep the questions coming and we'll keep the conversation going.